several among us, this is a tremendous challenge. We must be prepared to suffer, to be patient, to persevere with tremendous adversities in some way.
Against your chest, there's this one on this one.
But, well, it's a challenge. It's a question of life for the world, for Africa, so we must go. And start by what is probably the most difficult challenge, namely water in the parts of Africa where we wouldn't have water if something very special was not done here. So let's go for the replenishment of Roissy.
I think everyone has a mic, so I can hold on. Thank you. Please, I continue? Okay. I'm not sure to apply to it. Somebody said that water issues are political. I fully agree. But since we are in a financial institution, I think the most difficult is to really address the question, which is that there is no other way than to finance water from users and taxpayers, from water fees and public budget. Some of us have proposed some years ago to shift from the polemics about full cost recovery towards something which seems more reasonable, which is sustainable cost recovery. I just want to remind you that sustainable cost recovery is a mix of money from users with money from public budgets, with two conditions. The first condition on money from users is that the cost for users is affordable to them. And I'm very pleased to say that last year, this is what has been recognized in the human right to water and sanitation. The cost has to be affordable, the same thing. And regarding the public budget, subsidies from public budget, we said at the time, several years ago, that the subsidies from public budgets are acceptable to make things work, provided that they are predictable. But the managers can know how much money they will get from the public budget. And then my conclusion is, congratulations to Algeria, because I understand that we have now a pluriannual plan for water. So I can imagine that your managers can know ahead of time how much money they will get from the national budget.
I'm very, I come away from this very optimistic because I hear everybody saying basically the same thing, which is that there's a recognition that water and sanitation are absolute foundations of development. They're foundations of health, foundations for education, gender equity, nutrition, but also foundations of economic development. And I think, I come back to something that one of my colleagues at the World Bank always says, which is that if you go to a country and say thousands of children are dying of diarrhea, that's a problem for the Minister of Health. If you say you're losing 5% of GDP, that's a problem for the Minister of Finance. And all of a sudden, the issue changes. And what I think I hear here is that there's a real recognition among African countries that this is a drag-on economic growth that has to be addressed by political leadership, and water and sanitation are very political. But I also see that that type of political leadership is starting to emerge. There's the African Ministers' Council on Water. 23 African countries have joined the new Sanitation and Water for All initiative, which also involves every year a high-level meeting of finance ministers with donors in the water sector. So I think that we just have to look for ways to keep the momentum going for this kind of high-level political leadership on water and sanitation in Africa.
Thank you. Vous savez, c'est comme dans un dîner amoureux. La période la moins romantique et la plus gênante, c'est le moment de la facture. Sur l'eau, il n'y a pas 36 solutions. C'est soit les consommateurs, soit l'État, soit les investisseurs, soit les donneurs. Ces quatre personnes, les États doivent être crédibles, lisibles, en investissant et en définissant clairement leur plan d'action. Les investisseurs doivent savoir que l'eau peut être rentable, mais à moyen et long terme. Ils doivent être patients et s'écarter de toute pratique spéculative sur le domaine de la gestion de services publics de l'eau et de l'assainissement, même aussi de l'irrigation et de l'eau industrielle. Les donneurs doivent, être au niveau moral et politique de leurs engagements. 2, comprendre et être convaincus qu'il est de leur intérêt de financer le secteur eau, pour la stabilité, pour la santé mondiale, au niveau mondial. Les utilisateurs doivent comprendre que l'eau n'arrive pas en ouvrant le robinet ou en allant dans un puits. Qu'il faut des réunions comme ça, des gens qui creusent, des gens qui traitent, et que ça a un coût. Et qu'on peut être idéaliste, mais c'est là. Il faut des sous pour eux. Si, par chance, ces 4 éléments travaillent ensemble, on pourra s'en sortir. Sinon, d'ailleurs, on n'a pas le choix. On est obligé de gagner la bataille de l'eau au niveau mondial. On n'a pas le choix. Cette planète n'a pas de futur sans régler la question de l'eau. Merci.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I will start by the conclusion from Matsepo, saying that even in the rural area, people are ready to pay for services, and they are paying for services. I think this one is really a great conclusion, because we got a lot of unnecessary, sometimes discussion around poor people who can afford or not. I think this one is something which we can agree upon that. The second thing is we have to come out and find the best way of advocacy. Everybody talk about water for growth. I think what we are referring to is exactly all the work, intellectual work has been done by African, water for growth, water for sustainable development, but still it is not taking. So clearly it's not the issue of water minister, it's not the issue of finance minister, because both are calling upon, but it does not work, it does not mobilize the whole government, because it is government issue. It is not Minister of Finance, it's not Minister of Water. So what we can do to bring the matter outside these two ministers, because not put them in front of each other. Maybe we have to find a different way of advocacy, maybe going at a lower level, because now democracy is moving in Africa. And sometimes those are looking for being elected. They easily talk about the dam or maybe something which can be visible like a road, but maybe have access to water. If populations start to say that I'm not going to vote for you because I don't have safe water, maybe, so we have to find another way to do this advocacy, so that I think it can come in the top priority of government, because certainly we need that priority, because we are ready to support the country, we are ready to support this development, because we know how far, but development is the country business at the first level. The country should be in a driver's seat. We only support the country when they decide something. So we are ready, but I think we need to see how we can bring the agenda on the top level, and we are ready to support. And we are going to continue to do so, as we do so far, but we need to move faster. We cannot do it without getting appropriate effort at the level of each country.
Thank you, Dr. Badurma. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a round of applause to our panelists. Real thank you to... Let me just wrap up. There's plenty of time outside, Marcia. And thank all of you again sincerely for making the time to join us to discuss this issue. And I suppose the takeaway for all of us is that we are all advocates for this issue. We should all be speaking about this, and we should be all engaging our governments. Those of us in the media should be raising these issues perhaps more often than we do. Thank you again for being on our panel, and again, thank you to our audience for staying with us through the period.